Welcome to the regular town council meeting, Town of Cave Creek, Arizona, for Monday, June 19th, 2023. You have the meeting's now called to order. You have the roll call, please.
Councilmember Augerton.
Here.
Councilmember Bunch.
Here.
Councilmember Alcama.
Here.
Councilmember McGuire.
Present.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Here.
Vice Mayor Roy. Here. Mayor Morris.
Present. First item on the agenda is an executive session. Number one is council discussion, consultation, and direction to and legal advice from the town attorney pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and 4 regarding short-term rentals. The second one is a council discussion, consultation, direction to and legal advice from the town attorney pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and A4 regarding town code. Title Roman numeral 9, General Regulations 91. Nuisances. Number 3 is council discussion, consultation, direction to and legal advice from town attorney pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A and 3 and A and 4 regarding the zoning ordinance, chapter 11. May I have a motion to move into executive session? Move. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're now in executive session. The Cave Creek Town Council meeting is back in session after our executive session, a number of items. The first thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask the rodeo chair, Mike Poppenweimer, to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Public announcements. Do you have any public announcements? Anybody on council have them? I have one. The town up at Spur Cross has a new helicopter pad. We have had a number of rescues up there, and that helicopter pad is going to make it easier to get a helicopter in there to pull people out, and it's already been used. So it's separate from the area that is the parking, which is often full, by the way, and it didn't result in any additional disturbed space. We also have our brand new quad four-wheeler that can be used to rescue people, to get up some of those narrow trails up there where they can't take some of the smaller trucks. So it's that, in addition to the signs and some of the messaging out, I hope we have a much safer hiking season up there during the warm weather.
I can answer that.
Okay, go ahead. Tom.
I was up there a couple of days ago and there were volunteers. Thank you. I was up there a couple of days ago and there were volunteers up there working through Daisy Mountain. They were there to give out water. They had pamphlets. They were really being very proactive. And the sign is up there warning people the kind of things that they need to do to protect themselves. So with the help of Daisy Mountain, the town is being proactive in trying to prevent the kinds of disasters that have happened up there.
Thank you, Tom. The next is called to the public.
Joe Friedman.
Hi, Joe Friedman, 40020 North 71st Street, Cave Creek. Going on my 23rd year living in Cave Creek above Highland. I came to talk about a few things this evening to you. First of all, I know I have 3 minutes. I wanted to mention the people with the blower deals. You go by some of these places in the morning and they're blowing their parking lots out into the street. That is a form of pollution. Why don't they sweep it up and just put it in the trash? Instead, you go by and you get dusted. You know, and I know other business owners in town, I'm not a business owner, but other people in town that do own businesses aren't real happy about it, but they just don't say anything. You guys should look at that. Secondly, I've got a couple of things to say. Real quick here. I'm patriotic. I will say I'm a Republican, but at the same time, and I'm all about the flag, but at the same time, there's a flag on top of Black Mountain. I am not sure who the jurisdiction of Black Mountain is under, if it's under the town of Cave Creek or if it's under Maricopa County. and their rules and ordinances. It's all good. I don't have a problem with the flag. It's probably not supposed to be up there, but there is a group of yahoos. They don't even live in town here that are all over Facebook, and they're putting solar lights up there. If I'm not mistaken, we once had a dark skies ordinance going on here, or initiative, I should say, ordinance, not initiative, in town here to try to keep the skies dark. And one lady said, well, the whole south side of the mountain is lit up. That's carefree. We have a few people in this entire community that have dark skies that you live up there looking in that direction south. You want to see a light on top of Black Mountain? I don't care if the flag's up there or not. You know, we cannot have that. And again, I guess that would be a question for your town attorney. And if it's not you guys, then I will go to Maricopa County. But I do not want to see a light go up there. And I have understood that they have put it up there already, and it has been vandalized a few times. So there are other people that do not want to see lights on top of Black Mountain. Okay, the noise ordinance. I don't know where you guys are at, the noise ordinance in town. I don't think you enforce it down in the town court too much. But at the same time, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me personally. You know, I mean, Cave Creek's a place you come to live without an HOA, and a ton of rules. But I will say this, I've had some neighbors move in over the last few years, and I've been in my house again since before 9/11. And they came down on me when they moved in, and I got a note on my door during the pandemic, and not my door, the end of my driveway, dear neighbor. I was like, what's this? I didn't know what it was. I thought I was going to be threatened about the pandemic because I was voting for Biden or something. Anyway, what happened is they came after me because my dog barks. I live on 3 acres. Really? Anyway, it went to court here and I lost. You know, I should have had a lawyer, but I stuck up for myself because I'm a stubborn guy. But the bottom line is that I think you guys need to look at the dog ordinance in this town. It is, I'll just say it, it's anal retentive. We do not live on that side of the world. We are lucky, the fortunate 5,000, no traffic lights. You know, really, my dog can't bark at 5 in the afternoon. Come on, that's what these guys, and they said at night, you know, I know Martha Stein was doing this, and it probably did bark at night. My dogs don't bark. I hear dogs and animals all night long where I live off Row Wash there. This has got to be re-examined, this dog ordinance as well. Maybe the noise ordinance needs to be looked at too. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman.
David Phelps,
There's a huge agenda tonight. I'm going to pass on my comment.
no additional speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. Town manager report.
Nothing
Or
to
acting
report.
town manager.
Nothing to report.
The power hasn't gone to your head yet? No. Okay. Okay, the act,
But I do have a question.
Yeah,
On the,
good.
mid-May, I asked for a binder collection of all of the documents related to the state land conversations and situation. And I'm wondering, is there progress on that, or what have we decided?
I've been working on that, and I actually just reached out to the attorney to make sure there was nothing missing. So I should have that for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Action items, the consent agenda. We have 2 items there. The approval of 007 beer and wine bar liquor license for Cryan Coyote Barbecue as requested by Cody Ross Edgen, owner agent. Number 2 is approval of the June 5th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes. Does anyone want to pull any of these from the consent agenda? We have a motion then to accept it as written.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Consent agenda is approved. Under general agenda items, we have a presentation to council by the Cave Creek Rodeo Days Executive Board on the Cave Creek Rodeo Days event and ticket sales presented by Mike Poppenweimer, Cave Creek Rodeo Days Executive Board member. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor. Not on? You can hear me now. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members and staff, thank you for this opportunity on behalf of the Cave Creek Rodeo Days Board of Directors to present the results of the last Cave Creek Rodeo Days. There should be a PowerPoint. I'm just going to follow. Firm believer, a picture's worth 1,000 words, so I won't be able to talk for a half hour here. But 1 second. Forgot the clicker here. Okay, basically, I'm gonna go through the week of the Cave Creek Rodeo Days. First of all, in February, we had our royalty pageant. We had two great ladies, our queen, Mary Norton, and our teen queen, Isabella Schofield. These are two great ladies that represent Cave Creek very well. During their reign, they'll be representing us in over 80 to 100 different events throughout Cave Creek and the state of Arizona. We're very fortunate to have two ladies of this caliber representing Cave Creek. We're very proud of these people. Also, the royalty, we plan to this year initiate the Princess Program and Wrangler Program for young ladies and young men to be able to participate in the royalty program. Also, our parade this year, we had 69 entries and a total of 170 horses in the parade. We're very proud of our parade. It's a great, large community event, and we anticipate adding a lot newer things to it next year. We'll take it to a new level. We're excited about it. Marshall Stein said he's really excited about it. We're going to plan on working with Mr. Stein in July, so we're ready to go by next year in March. And then also, after the parade that afternoon at the arena, we had our mud busting. We had 52 riders, ages 4 to 7. So that was a fun event that we had that afternoon. And then right after the mud busting, we went down to Harold's. And in the past, I think you're familiar, we used to have our golf tournament. But right now, being in March, that's peak season for the golf courses. We really couldn't get anybody locally to work with us. Previous year, we had it in Glendale, which is not in our town. That's why we really don't want to support it. So we went a different direction, and we have our first cornhole tournament. First year, all the shoots, so to speak, we netted over $7,000. So it was a fun event, and it was here in Cave Creek, and that was our main objective, keeping all our events this week in Cave Creek, not in different communities. The other activity after Saturday was on Wednesday night. We had the Crazy Horse Memorial Fundraiser at the Mountain View Pub. We had 260 people in attendance. We had a silent auction, raffle, as well as donations. Also, the Crazy Horse Foundation had a booth out at the Stockman's for the whole 4 events. And during this time, they brought in $52,000 was donated to the foundation. And then there was an anonymous donor in Cave Creek that matched it. So they walked away with $104,000. Don't we live in a great town, Cave Creek? So I'm sure they'll be back next year. And just the touch that we're trying to take advantage of all the Western culture with the Native Americans. Next year, we plan to get more Native Americans involved in all our activities that week. There's a lot of opportunity out there with our Native American heritage. And we're definitely want to go after it as an activity of Cave Creek Rodeo Days week. Next, after Wednesday, we kick off our All Bulls All Night. This is our first year. We had to our marketing plan on it and business plan, we needed $40,000 to break even, and we came in, we made $48,000. Our first year, our goal was just to break even. Being the fact we charged $45 a ticket versus $30 for the rodeo, and it did very well. We came out 8,000 ahead, and we only see it getting better and better. And that's not counting our beverage sales for that night. Our beverage sales, if I can touch on that quickly, over 4 nights, we did $56,000 in beverage sales. And after expenses, we walk away making about $23,000 profit in our beverage sales. I'm sure nobody contributed to that, but I thought I'd share that to you. Okay, after Thursday night, the rest is pretty well explained. We sold out on Friday night. You can see the Shoot Six, Stockman's, and General Mission, the numbers there. And then we go to Saturday night, same story. We're really excited about it. We sold out again on Saturday night. And then on Friday, we sold out as well. So we had a very good Cave Creek Rodeo, PRCA rodeo this year. Then we move on to the results. Over the course of the week, we had 172 different volunteers working. And this is community people coming together working on this event. And that, and a lot of our volunteers work more than just one shift. This is different volunteers. So this is definitely a community event. The tickets sold over 8,229. And then the vendors, approximately 23 different vendors. And then sponsors, we had 58 sponsors totaling 231,000 in cash and trade. Now, this next figure we broke records in, and that is number of contestants. We had 394 contestants with a payout of 121,000. That's our, we set a record there as far as contestants and payout. Next is our charitable giving. This figure is from what we gave between the 22-23, which was 19,000. When we get to our financial strategic plan, you'll see we plan to give 20,000 away this next year. But you can see closer than on the screen, the different organizations we gave and how much. Because that's in our articles of incorporation, our mission is to two main things, and that is to support charities in the community and upkeep and then improve the arena at the rodeo grounds. Next, financials, what we did this year, new chutes, we put them in. 2 years ago, we bought new chutes. We paid $120,000 for them. They're in now. We bought new pens this year, $83,000 worth of new pens. Stockman's Club, we $1,800. We put new ice pens underneath so we pass health inspection. And so this year we actually did improvements of $205,000 in the arena. Next is a strategic financial plan. Now, this plan was made at the end of April. There's a couple differences in it due to the fact we thought we'd have most of our invoices in, or expense invoices in by the end of April. But we have about almost $10,000 that wasn't accounted for. So our bottom line will change by 10 grand, but basically you can see the expense to be paid to be 74,000. Now restricted funds, what that is basically another term would be like a rainy day fund. What we, as a board, we do not, in case we get another pandemic, bad weather, tornado, whatever, once due to the fact we have guarantee pay and a lot of our stock contractor, announcer, et cetera, we don't want to be left holding the ball with a big debt. So basically, at this point, we put in a restricted fund monies to make sure that we're a professional group that can handle anything that's thrown at us as far as catastrophes. This could change depending on the board, but this is what we're going to start with or try to do this coming year. Operating fund, 102,000. We still got, we have a royalty on the road. We still have expenses, deposits with the stock contractors, things like that. So we need 102,000 is what we estimate we need to operate before we go into our next Cave Creek Rodeo days. Arena development at this point is 50,000. And that basically what that'll go towards, we don't know at this point in time. When I get to the further down here, we'll have some other ideas, but right now we have our arena development at $50,000. So that leaves us basically about $6,000. Okay, next, this here's the skybox, and that's the old skybox. Actually, it was actually a real blessing that Mother Nature blew that down. Due to the fact we'd have to take and we got the town was fortunate enough to get the insurance policy on that. Whereas we would have to tear it down at our expense and move it at our expense to put in the new chutes and new pens. So it's we're very fortunate to tear that down. And I just came about an hour ago from Mark Tate, the architect's office, who has donated all his time to design a new skybox. Was passed out to you all is just the first phase of a possible skybox. And the upside of this, there's a lot. Yes, sir.
No, I'm just, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well done.
Okay, thank you very much. The upside of this is this seats 96 seats, not standing room seats. And we estimate if we sell out, which we have sold out the last 3 years, at the Skybox, that it'll bring revenue in of, I wrote this down, of $19,000 a night. And after 4 nights, that's about $76,000. So we're estimating our return on investment on this new Skybox to be less than 3 years. Not counting the opportunity, if you see it, there's a lot of opportunity in the frontage of it to have sponsorships. So we're excited about this. Where we're going to get the money for this, we don't know yet. Okay, we're working on that. I'm hoping that we get something done this year by getting a major sponsor, or by I say major or national sponsor, to come in and put their name up on that for the next 5 to 8 years for, you know, a couple 100,000 or 100,000. And the plus is that this Skybox, the new one, could be used at any event out at the arena. And it will draw other events in, whether it's a good roping or whether it's a national barrel racing competition, equine seminars, whatever. So this Skybox has really been it's a, how should I say, it's a great opportunity for our arena. One of the second we wanted to have on this drawing is to put the large screen, which is a 20 feet by 11 feet, and put it on top of the Skybox. So that way it's an awe effect when you walk into that arena. Then you can charge more money, of course. So that's part of the plan for return on investment. But this first drawing does not include it because it's significantly expensive to be able to support 3,500 pounds up high, right, for wind resistance. So that's the Skybox situation that it's in the making. We have an opportunity here with that arena to take it to a different level with that Skybox situation. And lastly is our next year, our dates. We're geared up, ready to go. We have a great board. This is a working board. Everybody on the board represents committees. And we have already working on things for next year that we want to include, whether it's an Indian village at Frontier Town, or I have another Native American grand entry at our rodeo. We have so many things we can do that we're excited about. We're looking forward to it, and with the goal of making money to put into the arena so we can just get better and better. So at this point in time, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Did you get any insurance money from when the Skybox fell down?
No, ma'am. It went to the town of Cave Creek.
The insurance money did?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, Sue. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, in that, at the time, it was Mike Baxley that handled that situation. So I don't know where and how, but that's what we were told.
What?
We got it.
We got the money. So to me, that makes sense that it should be turned back into, towards the new Skybox, but I'm just one person here.
I appreciate and support your idea.
Like that thinking, huh?
Great sentiment. Mike, you forgot to mention how much money with the tickets, the $3 per.
Oh, yes, the tickets for the benefit of the town of Cave Creek. Yes, the total ticket this year was 18,771. And basically Thursday night, adding that Thursday night, it basically was this an additional 2,300 that was added to the town of Cave Creek Copper, so to speak. And I think that's a bargain. $3 seat charge, or whatever you want to call it. That's a very reasonable fee. We support it as long as it doesn't go up. That's why. No, it's very reasonable and we support it, and we're very lucky to have an arena and a staff. The staff for the facilities are very helpful, very receptive, very approachable, and easy to work with. We're very pleased to work with the facility staff as well as the staff here. Luke's not here, but he's been on our board before, so he understands the mechanics of putting on that rodeo.
And new restrooms around the way.
I understand that. That's exciting news.
And
Very
you,
exciting.
you seem pretty optimistic considering the fact that I'm on the board as well.
We're working with Ernie. Ernie's an asset. There's no question about it. But we're very excited too that eventually that I don't know if I should touch on this, is that the town will take ownership of that land out there. Now, when we were negotiating with your staff on our lease, which is coming up in this year for another 5 years, that we want to be on that lease, that we can go and negotiate and raise donations and grants for development of that arena. Being that it's easier if we go out and raise it and then we put it in the arena, then I wouldn't say it's easier. Neither that staff made it clear that they don't have the expertise or time to be able to go do that. So we want to be the ones that go out there and raise money. So we get more parking, get more stands, improve on what we got, because we have a lot of, because there's a lot of opportunity out there, not just for our rodeo days, but for other activities throughout the year. Any other questions?
Well, I have one kind of comment. It's really important with, I hear you're sold out every night. And of course, we're gonna get the restrooms out there, and that's gonna set up a negotiation with BLM and the county to get control out there. And that's our opportunity to make sure that we get enough land to support whatever the vision is out into the future, but to have enough parking, especially,
Yes.
so that we kind of look forward to what the ultimate capacity is. So we make sure we ask for enough land, and maybe we'll get it.
We hope so. We're very fortunate to have Tate, architect, Mark Tate.
Oh, Mark Tate's doing it.
Yeah, Mark Tate's the one donating his time. He's did the first renderings here,
Wow.
and he's committed that depending down the road, how much money we have to redesign the whole arena at no cost. So that would be a great opportunity for us to keep that cost under control with take advantage of his creativity and come up with some great ideas for the Stockmans, because our Stockmans is great, but the seating for the experience, because we're very concerned that when you pay $150, that you have a good experience. And we can't have a good experience. We pack it for 400 people or 350, because the seats in the stands great, and then you got about 20 seats in the front. That's good. Other than that, it's standing and watching it. So if I paid $150, at least I can eat and drink. But if I have to stand, it's not an ideal situation. So we have some opportunity there to expand, because we sell out every year, at least the last 2 years I'm aware of in the Stockmans.
And for those who don't know Mark Tate, he's an architect in town at Stagecoach Village. He's one of our own.
That's correct.
Yeah. Other questions or comments from council?
Great.
Again,
Mike,
thank you very much.
A
for
lot
this
of
opportunity.
enthusiasm. It's part of our heritage. It's no secret. I think that the rodeo is one of the the signature event in town.
All right.
So keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
And we have public comment on this.
No public comment.
Next is a presentation by Arizona Public Service regarding the APS Wildfire Preparedness and Response Plan for 2023, presented by APS representatives. Get these names: Scott Dirth, Manager of Distribution and Maintenance, and Artie Garcia, Supervisor of Pettis Valley Operations and Maintenance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for having us, first and foremost. We are here to give you guys just a quick overview of what we do annually, what Arizona Public Service refers to as our fire mitigation plan. And first and foremost, with this plan is the safety of the residents, safety of our employees, and safety of first responders in the wildland fire type situations. So in the town of Cave Creek, we have 7 major power lines, which we call feeders, that run from about Carefree Highway north through your town, that do fall under this program. So what we do is annually we have inspections that are done a multitude of ways. We start with employees that will patrol these power lines by foot, some by UTV, some by truck. We've also ventured into the space where we do now do some of them by drone footage, which has helped us expedite and find things, sooner than later. So with those inspections, we have a group of engineers that does studies on these power lines, like I said, annually, to see where we can improve. And by improve, I mean, where can we add devices to shorten outage times? Because when we do reach these fire mitigation situations, which we are currently in now, we go into a mode, is what I'll call it, where we do not have our automatic reclosing devices don't automatically reclose. So what that means is On a March day, if, you know, a power line falls down, sometimes the device in front of it will close, or a bird, a balloon, you know, we have a bunch of foreign interferences that can take place, and it'll try and turn itself back on. What we do when the fire season or fire levels elevate is we take that out. So once the power line turns off, we send a human or two to go and patrol it for its entirety. With that being said, what happens when we get to elevated fire is we have extended outages. Due to, we don't want to be the cause of igniting the sort, you know, fuels on the ground. So, like I said, there's 7, so we get on those. And once they're patrolled for their entirety, some of them are broken up into smaller sections based off devices we have installed throughout the territory. We have 17 different devices that are installed throughout this territory, besides what actually opens the power line at the substation. So we've made a lot of headway on getting these devices installed to shorten the amount of customers that are affected, and will also shorten the time that these customers are out of power, because they don't have to do as much research to find an issue if there is an issue. Last year, it didn't affect the residents of Cave Creek, but it was near. We did have a few of these situations present themselves, and it was out off of Seven Springs Road. And it was due to a foreign interference, whether it was a little dust devil, sometimes those can get the power lines together. Mylar balloons are very popular, that they affect our system. So we were able to find nothing, and you know, that power line where it opens, it serves about 12 customers up on Humboldt Mountain. So we're fortunate to not have any in the town itself. Not saying that it can't happen, because we have a bunch that converge right at downtown. There's like 2 or 3 that converge. But with the things we do, so we do what we call DSAP, which is defensible space around poles. That's a thing we do annually. We create a 10-foot circle around each pole. We clear the brush, sticks, twigs, etc., to make sure that if there was an ignition of overhead power line, that, you know, trying to mitigate that. We do have what we call it an ELF fuse, which it's a fuse that the expulsion limiting fuse. So when the fuse does trip, it doesn't create any sparks. It's all self-contained, which again is another thing that we do. We study annually. We see where we can add these and make headway to eventually get more and more and more throughout the service territory here. And when we do experience these outages, kind of bounce around a little bit, sorry. We want to communicate to the customers of the town of Cave Creek that if your information is up to date with your account, we have made headway with email notifications as well as text message notifications if and when your power does go out. But we ask that your information is accurate on your account, because if the information isn't accurate, it's going to La La Land. Another thing that we do, hopefully we don't experience this here near this town or anywhere really, is we do turn off the power when there is a wildfire near. And we have a whole team of fire mitigation specialists that travel around the state, and they go to all these wildfires, and we have someone on site at almost every one. And when the fires either change direction or start moving towards a power line that is live, we do take that out for safety of the people on the ground fighting the fire, as well as we don't want our stuff to burn down and make the fire even larger. And again, with those situations, there will be notifications sent out. Like I said, via email, text message. We also have the APS outage map at aps.com. And then there's also a little bit more information that the customers in this area can look at, and it's aps.com/wildfire safety. And I do have some time for questions.
Oh, I'm sure we have some. I know I do. What are the questions from council? I have a few questions. Oh, I'm glad to hear about the fuses. That was a big issue last time. I think you were here last time.
I was not here
You were
last
not-
time.
oh, okay.
Familiar faces, not familiar with yours, sir. Yes, we were here last year.
Just go to the post office. It's up in there.
Last year, one of the big questions was, obviously, we spoke about once that device operates, that people are gonna lose power, and they're gonna lose power for sometimes an extended period of time. I think it's important, actually, I think Mr. McGuire asked this question last year, how many people were affected? Well, I was able to give that information last year, but this year, we can say last year it happened one time, and that was at Seven Springs. So your folks have not been seeing these prolonged outages. Now, that doesn't mean this year something couldn't change, but that's the whole premise behind this, come out and explain it to you. So you can explain to your community, as we do, that they may see extended outages when they're on the end of the line, depending on the conditions.
Thank you.
The explosiveness of the fuses was a big issue because we've got this weed here that covers the ground with fuel. How are we doing in Cave Creek on changing those over to fuses that don't spread sparks when they trip? Because if you think about it, and monsoon season's coming up, you got lightning storms, you have dry lightning at times, you have things going on, and sometimes in the middle of the night when no one's around to see if something starts on fire.
One of the biggest things we've done is actually changed out devices so we don't have to put that many fuses in place. You know what I mean? If you look at downtown in your main core area, yes, we may have some of those non-expulsion fuses. At some point with our studies, once we go through, we look at areas in which that if there was potentially some sort of a spark. Now, keep in mind, these sparks are very, very rare. So it's not something every time that fuse blows that you get sparks. It's only extreme conditions. Does that make sense? So maybe only a couple out of 100, you may see something like that. And those are the areas that we go into our engineering.
Well, I would urge you to consider the fuel load that we have in the areas of town that are low density.
So we've added nearly 40 additional of these, what we call L fuses in 2023 to of the 13 total feeders that serve the North Scottsdale, Cave Creek, Carefree area. And I can give you the number of the amount exactly in Cave Creek, but we continue to make progress. And as technology evolves, like Scott was saying, you know, we get different devices, you know, there's companies throughout the world that are developing smaller devices to handle situations as such.
Okay. The next question I had was on the water company priority. During wildfire, we lost some firefighting equipment. It all runs off power. You know, power is probably the weakest spot in the for failures, especially during a fire when the poles could be burning or who knows, and that's the time you need water the most. So I don't know what your priority system is for getting power back on. But we'd sure like to see our utility managers in the back of the room back there.
And we'll look into that, sure.
Yeah, but we'd like to have as reliable power as possible to try to protect the town. That is protecting the town is the key issue. Water requires electricity to operate the pumps, although we are putting in some backup generators.
Oh, we can look into that.
Other questions, council? Well, thank you very much. It's very interesting.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This says public comment.
No
No
comments.
further. Number 3 on the list tonight is presentation and council approval of financial policy number 5, investments. It's nice to have enough money to invest.
Number 4.
Is it 4? Excuse me, that's item number 4. Oh, excuse me, if I skipped over, yeah, I'm sorry, Mitzi, but it's your item anyway. We're on item number 3.
3.
Presentation and council approval of financial policy. Wait a minute.
Mhm.
And
Is that it?
investment.
Yeah.
Investment policy.
Yeah,
Number 3.
We're there.
okay, number 3.
We're good. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. I am bringing before you tonight a new council financial policy on investments. The Government Officers Finance Association, GFOA, recommends that governments formally adopt written financial policies. These financial policies are an essential part of public financial management. Effective policies must exist in written form, be expressed in a manner that is understandable, made available to all stakeholders, and address all relevant issues and risks. One of the GFOA recommended financial policies that government should have in place is over investments. An investment policy describes the parameters for investing government funds and identifies the investment objectives, preferences, or tolerance for risk, constraints on the investment portfolio, and how the investment program will be managed and monitored. The document itself serves as a communication tool for the staff, elected officials, the public, rating agencies, bondholders, and any other stakeholders on investment guidelines and priorities. An investment policy also enhances the quality of decision-making and demonstrates a commitment to the fiduciary care of public funds, making it the most important element in a public funds investment program. The Finance Department currently oversees the investment activities of the town in accordance with state statutes and town code, and within the statutory restrictions for municipal investments as outlined in ARS 35.323. Finance follows internal policies and procedures over these investments. However, currently, no formal written policy exists. This proposed investment policy, if approved, will document in written form the current processes and procedures that staff follow. Adopting a written financial policy of our current investment policies and procedures improves processes and controls and provides protection to the town elected officials and staff. This new investment policy that is before you tonight is written to comply with the statutory restrictions for municipal investments as outlined in ARS 35.323. The investment policy contains the scope, objectives, standards of care, authorized investment types, performance evaluation and reporting, and approval. And I will give you tonight an overview of each of these, starting with the scope. So the scope of this policy encompasses the investments of all funds under the town's control. These funds are accounted for and presented in the town's annual comprehensive financial report and are audited on an annual basis. The next item is the investment objectives of the policy. In priority order are safety, liquidity, and return. Safety of principal is the foremost objective, and investments will be made in a manner that ensures the preservation of capital in the overall portfolio. Additionally, investments will remain sufficiently liquid to meet all requirements that might be reasonably anticipated. Finally, the investment pools and funds will be managed with the objective of obtaining a market rate of return given constraints of both the safety and the liquidity objectives. The next section of the investment policy is the standards of care, and they're outlined here on the slide and include prudence, ethics and conflicts of interest, delegation of authority, investment training, and internal controls. The standard of prudence, which is the first standard of care, means that investments will be made with judgment and care, and the prudent person standard will apply. This standard of care also relieves the town manager, finance director, and designees acting within this standard of personal liability for any individual securities credit risk or market price changes, given deviations from expectations are reported timely and action is taken to control adverse developments. The next standard of care is ethics and conflicts of interest. This standard states that employees involved in the investment process will refrain from personal business activity that could conflict with the proper execution of the investment program, or which could impair or appear to impair their ability to make impartial investment decisions. The policy also states that employees involved with the investment process will disclose to town council any material interests in financial institutions with which they conduct business. The next standard of care is delegation of authority. This standard gives the responsibility for the operation of the investment program to the finance director, who will act in accordance with the guidelines established in town code, this proposed financial policy, and Arizona state law. The finance director is responsible for all transactions undertaken and will establish a system of procedures and controls for the operation of the investment program consistent with the financial policy. The next standard of care is investment training. And it states that under this policy, investment officials must have a finance, accounting, or related degree and knowledge of treasury functions and are required to receive not less than 10 hours of investment responsibility instruction at least once every 2 years, to include education in investment controls, security risks, strategy risks, market risks, and compliance with state investment statutes. And finally, the last standard of care in this policy is internal control. And it states that the town will establish an internal control system to prevent loss of public funds due to fraud, employee error, misrepresentation by third parties, or imprudent actions of employees of the town or investment counterparts, and is subject to review and audit each year by an independent external auditor. The next section in the investment policy is authorized investment types. Monies of the town can be invested in checking and high yield checking accounts or savings accounts at one or more federally insured banks or savings and loan associations, or the local government investment pool, LGIP, which is operated by the state treasurer's office. Investments outside of these options shown here on the screen are not authorized in the proposed investment policy. The town currently invests all of our funds in and our reserves in the LGIP with the state treasurer's office. Their motto is safety before liquidity, before yield. They invest in safe, secure investments to produce the highest possible yield for local governments, public schools, and state agencies. They follow state statutes, and their priorities align with this proposed investment policy. The next slide presents the last two sections of the proposed investment policy. The first one being performance evaluation and reporting. The policy requires the finance director to continually monitor and evaluate the investment performance and provide statistics and activity summary reports monthly to the town manager, quarterly to town council, and annually for the annual comprehensive financial report. And the final item in the investment policy is approval. And this item basically states that any deviation from the investment policy that's in front of you tonight will require prior specific written authorization of town council to do so. So that is all I have on the proposed investment policy, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Questions? Dusty?
Have we ever had a policy like this before?
Have we had one?
Yeah.
We have not.
It's outstanding. I mean, I've read through it earlier. I really was very impressed.
Oh, thank you. We've had internal processes in making our investments. They've just not been documented or written in a formal policy.
No, this is great.
Thank you.
Other questions? This has public comment.
No public comment.
Okay, we're ready. Any comment? I guess we're ready for motion at this point then.
I move that we adopt the town policy for That we approve the council financial policy number 5 entitled investments.
Second,
This is not financial, it's a policy, so I guess we can do a voice vote. Right, I'm getting a head shake. So all those in favor of adopting this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it 7-0. You got your policy.
Good job.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay,
Next on the agenda is number 4, council discussion and approval of resolution R 2023-16, a resolution of the mayor and town council of town of Cave Creek, Maricopa County, Arizona, adopting the fiscal year 2023-24 Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, PRS pension funding policy, accepting the town's share of assets and liabilities under the PRS June 30th, 2022 actuarial valuation report, repealing the prior policy and establishing an effective date. Presented by the finance director.
me again. Okay, mayor and council, the town, as mayor said, the town of Cape Creek participates in the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, otherwise referred to as PSPRS. And ASRS 38-863-01 requires you all to annually adopt a pension funding policy for PSPRS to communicate how the town will maintain stability of the town's required contributions, how and when the town's funding requirements will be met, and define the town's funded ratio target under PSPRS. The town is also required to formally accept the town's share of the pension's assets and liabilities based on the actuarial report that PSPRS produces at June 30th of every year, and to post this funding policy on our town website. So the last PSPRS actuarial report that we have, that's a tongue twister for me, sorry, is as of June 30th of 2022, and it was prepared by Foster and Foster. It reflects the town's share of assets as of that date of $669,699 and the accrued liability of $685,362. Leaving an unfunded liability, which is the difference between the assets and the liability amounts of $15,663, which leaves the town with a funded ratio of 97.7% funded as of that point in time. For fiscal year ended June 30, which is was fastly approaching us, we made our required annual contribution, what they refer to as ARC. Our payment amount of $14,059. And it's currently above what you guys had set or what prior council had set as the fiscal year 2023 PSPRS funding ratio goal of 90%. So last year council had adopted that 90% threshold. And as of June 30, 2022, we're at 97.7. So we're exceeding by 7.7%. This year, staff recommends council's PSPRS funding ratio goal for fiscal year 2024 to be set to fall within the range of 90 to 100%, with the ultimate intent to achieve 100% fully funded status. Since the assets and accrued liabilities of the plan fluctuate year over year with the market, a funding range rather than a set percentage goal is both reasonable and prudent. Additionally, since the town does not currently have any active employees in the plan, due care should be taken to hedge against being overfunded or over that 100% ratio. Maintaining a pension between 90 to 100% approximates fully funded status and is the best way to achieve taxpayer and member intergenerational equity. So if resolution 2023-16 is approved, staff will use the budget and the Public Safety Law Enforcement Department retirement line item to make the annual required contribution, our ARC payment, for, which is estimated for fiscal year 23-24 to be $697. And make any additional payments above that ARC payment to bring the funding status to a minimum of 90% based on the most recent actuarial valuations that we will be receiving. That will be as of June 30, 2023. So that's all I have on the PSPRS funding policy, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have on that as well.
Seeing none,
Okay,
this.
this is a resolution.
Yeah, we have public comment on this.
No public comment.
No public comment. Okay, we're ready for a motion then. I'll make it. Motion to approve resolution R 2023-16, a resolution of the mayor and town council of the town of Cave Creek, Maricopa County, Arizona, adopting the fiscal year 2023-24 public safety personnel retirement system, PSPRS, pension funding policy, accepting the town's share of assets and liabilities under PSPRS, June 30th, 2022 actuarial valuation report, repealing the prior policy and establishing an effective date.
Second.
This is definitely fiscal, so we will have a roll call on this, please. Teresa?
Councilmember Rhodes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Councilmember Algerton.
Aye.
Councilmember Bunch,
Yes.
Councilmember Elkma,
Yes.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Mayor Morris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And we are on to item number 5, which is council discussion and possible approval resolution R 2023-15, a resolution of the mayor and town council of town of Cave Creek, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement by the mayor of the town, approving a loan from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by this resolution and declaring an emergency for an amount up to $13,190,000. And it's the big money. With help. Sean, take it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to point out tonight, we have Tim Stratton in the audience also who can help out. We actually have Jim Strickland and Kaylin Dwyer on I believe on Zoom in case we have any questions about what we're doing and why we're doing this. So, and the mechanisms. Next slide. I want to talk about what we're doing. So the town provides service to just under 4,500 customers, 44,400. So right now, the town relies 100% on CAP water, Central Arizona Project water, and that means that we actually deliver this water up a 12-mile pipeline, and we use 4 inline booster stations. So what that does for us as a utility, it puts us, we have a lot of single points of failure that can actually take our system out of service. So our staff are very proactive on trying to keep things maintained, but a lot of this infrastructure is old, and we actually do have a lot of issues that we deal with. So in 2019, the town actually signed an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Phoenix. And that provided us a connection for up to 1,000 gallons a minute or 1.4 million gallons per day. That's significant because that's about half the town's water supply. In the wintertime, that's actually more than we need to provide to our customers. So it provides us with a level of reliability we've never had in our system, having a second connection. And even during the summertime, that gives us breathing space. So if something happens to either the CAP pipeline, one of the booster pump stations, or to the treatment plant itself, it gives us some breathing space. That's one of the reasons when I show you the site, you'll see that there's actually a reservoir at that site contemplated. So not only do we have the existing reservoir storage in the system, we actually will have a new reservoir at the City of Phoenix Interconnect. It does 2 things. It gives us some more reliability and allows us to do some water quality treatment at this site. Quickly, this is a graphic of what, again, what we deal with every day. 12-mile pipeline runs up through the town core with 4 booster pump stations. So there is some well capacity out in Desert Hills, and we're looking to see what we can do with the well capacity in the town itself. But looking at just overall demands, this is going to be the primary source until the City of Phoenix Interconnect is built for the town's water system. As an example of one of the 4 booster pump stations, so 3 of the booster pump stations are below grade in volts, so they're difficult to get to. We actually have added to the reliability by changing the radio system out to a cellular based radio system and changing out things like the PLC program logic controllers to computers that operate the sites, but they're still difficult to operate these and to maintain them. So the interconnect site itself is just north of Carefree Highway on the west side of Cave Creek Road, just north of the Stork West unit. We own a 3.6 acre parcel up there. As you can see, we're using most of it. There's a fairly significant wash that runs through it. So that bisects on the north end, which means we can't do much. And we're actually putting a berm on the western side of the site because there are some residential homes adjacent to it. But we are planning to do a million-gallon reservoir. That's where the water would come into. We'd meter the water from Phoenix, and then we could also do some treatment of that if necessary. And then the site actually will boost into the local area. Pressure zone is pressure zone 1, and then it'll boost into be able to send water north up to pressure zone 4, which allows us to get this water into our Neary facility, which then allows us to backfeed all the upper zones. So in the wintertime, we actually have the ability to actually turn off the water treatment plant or the CAP pipeline to do significant major maintenance on it and run it off the Phoenix Interconnect, which is a huge improvement for staff. Because right now it's like, I think the analogy someone said is we're trying to repair the airplane while we're flying in the air, and it's very difficult sometimes. So having that breathing space to take one of the either the pipeline or the plant offline for a few weeks at a time would be significant for the town overall. We're also looking to relocate the CAP 4 booster pump station up to the site, and that's to add efficiency to overall to our raw water delivery system. Right now, the integration with the Paul membranes is not ideal at the treatment plant, so we need to have a little more flexibility in our delivery. So that's why we'd be looking to bring that booster station up to the site. So the town is looking to enter into an agreement, a loan agreement with Water Infrastructure, WIFA, which stands for Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona. So they're a state authority, so they're not a state agency, but state authority, and they provide financing for water infrastructure and then water and wastewater, so utility infrastructure. So they have their boards that they recommend moving. They have a board that recommends, since we're using federal funding to move this forward. We had to go through 2 board meetings. The committee moved it forward to the board, and then board has authorized it. So WIFA administers several federal and state programs. A lot of their funding is coming through federal government through the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, and then that's the drinking water and the clean water resolving funds is what they actually manage. They have some water conservation grant funds and a few other funds that they manage, and we're actually looking at opportunities to work with WIFA to get some grants fundings moving forward. Cave Creek has actually worked very successfully with WIFA a number of times, both with our larger capital improvements when the town bought the water systems that was paid for, when the town rebuilt the wastewater system, and actually when the town built the first water system, the first wastewater treatment plant. So we worked successfully to get loans as well as grant funds before from WIFA. So it's an agency that we know well, we work well with, I think. So what we're looking to do here is use a loan from the WIFA to actually provide most of the funding for the City of Phoenix Interconnect. At this point, the design is nearing completion. We're hopefully in the next meeting or so bringing a construction manager at risk contract for the town to authorize. That'll be our contractor who's actually going to complete the work. And then, but this will allow us to have the funding in place. We've been in a little bit of a pause, to make sure we could get the funding in place because we actually had to go through the rate study last year to make sure that we could make everything work with the loan that we went after. So the loan amount is just under $13.2 million, $13.19 million. The term is 30 years at this point. The estimated rate is 3.4% right now. They actually don't give you a final rate until they close. The tentative date is July 21st. So I think a day or two before that closing is when they'll actually set the documents or set the final rate. And that will be in the loan documents that we're asking authority to actually have the mayor execute on the town's behalf. Exciting about this is they actually have a forgivable principal amount of over $1 million. So within that, that's actually something that will be wrapped into our loan. So we do not have to pay the interest on that amount, which is beneficial to the town overall. So we were, from I understand, it's largely due to the fact that the town has had WIFA loans before and we've paid them off successfully or are continuing to pay them off, that they're able to do that. So that's a good bonus for the town. It's not free money, but it's interest-free money on the portion of it. So the way the loan actually works, it's actually a drawdown loan. So we don't get a check from $13.19 million that we can then deposit. What we'll do is we'll actually pay the contractors through payment applications and then make submittals to WIFA. So I'll work with Mitzi on a cash flow scenario. We've actually given one to WIFA staff already, so they know how we will be requesting the funds, because they actually administer hundreds of millions of dollars with loans, and they need to know how their cash flow works. But for our case, we will pay the contractors first, and then we'll seek reimbursement and make sure that we meet the requirements. Since this funding will have some federal commitments to it, it has things like the Buy American Act, Davis-Bacon requirements, and some other things that are tied to it that we have to make sure that we're in compliance with. So that's one of the reasons for using a construction manager at risk. It helps to make it a lot more easier to administer that side of it. And with that, staff is asking. Brian, can you move it?
Yeah, I can't get that.
Yeah, so staff is asking council to approve a resolution, R 2023-15, to authorize the mayor to execute and deliver the loan, sorry, my mistake there, agreement documents to the WIFA. Our project number is Drinking Water 016-2023. And this will allow us to fund a large portion of the City of Phoenix Interconnect site. So with that, we can answer any questions. Or we have our other experts that can help us answer any questions.
Sean, what you didn't mention was the status of the grant that we may get from the federal government towards this.
Yeah, we're looking at multiple things. We actually have some funding right now towards the project, and we're actually looking for a is it congressional, what's that term?
Congressionally directed spending that we had applied for the $2.5 million.
And it looks like we'll potentially get that funds.
That's
also.
moved to the Senate floor, but we've not heard as of yet whether we've been successful yet with that stage of the application.
Okay.
Still waiting.
Other questions? Well, I have a couple. I want to just check my understanding, because the terms of this loan seem so unbelievably good compared to with the loans we have now. I mean, for one thing, there's no revenue pledge off town revenues that I can see. Mitzi's looking at me like maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, the revenue pledge is actually, the pledge is the Cave Creek water system.
Oh, it
revenues.
is. It is pledged to the water.
Yes.
Okay, I missed that. The current ones are the general fund revenues are pledged to the current WIFA loans, which makes it very clumsy at times. There's only a 1-year reserve on the
Yeah, the
bills over 5 years.
you're correct. That is correct.
The other thing I see with this 1 million gallon tank, we have a very low water reserve for firefighting, because we have to keep the age of the water down for quality purposes. So I presume that that 1 million gallons can be pretty much kept towards the top of the tank, I hope.
We'll have to manage that. And that's one of the things that as staff, we look at. We have 4 reservoirs in Desert Hills, and we have 2 reservoirs in the main system. And that is a balancing act for us. The fact that we can refill the reservoirs right now, we can produce over 2,000 gallons a minute from the water treatment plant into the system if there's a fire event to make up water. That's actually something we're looking at with the master plan, is what we want to keep into it. But yeah, water age is an issue. But that's one of the reasons when Black and Veatch, we had Black and Veatch do a study 3 years ago and looked at the size that would best suit our needs. And really the 1 million gallons is to allow us to replace or supplement the NERI tank in case that, if we're not sending water from the treatment plant, we're not keeping NERI and this reservoir full. But that is something that we're very cautious in looking about as far as how much we keep because of water age, water quality issues, how much water we're keeping in reservoirs versus emergency storage. Right now we try to keep more water as emergency, but that's leading to water age issues. So it's a struggle for us as a utility.
Any other questions? Council, this has public comment, I'm sure.
No one wishing to speak?
No public comment, okay. So
I'll
we're,
make the motion.
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution R 2023-15. A resolution of the mayor and town council of the town of Cave Creek, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement by the mayor of the town, approving a loan from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by this resolution, and declaring an emergency for an amount up to $13,190,000.
Second.
Oh, I just think
Yeah,
it's, again, the terms that you mentioned are outstanding, and I think we're very fortunate to be able to get this loan.
Well, I've been working on this since my Water Advisory Committee days to get this. This is an absolute home run in my view. It improves everything about the water system. It takes all that equipment that on any given Saturday night, a car could shut this town down for quite a while. That line is fairly reliable, but once a year it goes out. It was broken once down near the dam near Cave Creek Road. So it's an unreliable system we have right now, and without this water, the town does not exist. So this is a absolutely critical part of keeping Cave Creek reliable and safe. So I fully support it. Other comments?
Looks great.
Just something we need to do.
This is definitely financial.
You think?
Councilmember Arton, Councilmember Bunch,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcamo,
Yes.
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Royer,
Yes.
Mayor Morris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. You've got your money.
It's a lot.
And Mitzi's 3 for 3 tonight. Next item on the agenda is number 6 is council discussion approval of expenditure to the city of Phoenix for reimbursement costs per the 2019 intergovernmental agreement for water service infrastructure required for Phoenix to provide water service south of Carefree Highway for an amount up to $91,111 presented by the Utilities Director.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That was a good presentation. See if this is going to work. So a little bit of background and history on this. This has been something that's been ongoing for a while now. The area south of Carefree Highway was actually historically inside of a private water company that the city of Phoenix had purchased a number of years ago. Yet because of the way their distribution system worked, they could not provide domestic service in some cases, but mostly fire service to the area. So what I've highlighted there is the area that we've actually south of Carefree Highway that we provide services to. East of Cave Creek Road, we are providing both domestic and fire, and west of Cave Creek Road, it's all domestic is being provided by Phoenix, and then we're actually we provide the fire service in that area. So in 2018, this is the first of the IGAs that were put in place with City of Phoenix. We cleaned up that municipal boundary area, but as part of that agreement, the town agreed to help City of Phoenix make the necessary improvements to their infrastructure that help offset to allow them to take this area over. So that was a $600,000 infrastructure obligation that we had to make. The one thing that we had in our favor was that they were able to work with us and say that we had some developments that were being queued up that were coming through, and City of Phoenix was able to or agreed to say that when these developments came in, because they've got City of Phoenix water meters, they the development fees that they paid, there were specific ones that they were paid for, that we got those back in lieu credits. So prior councils and some of the council members here might be aware of the 4 development agreements that were in place. I've listed them up there. That we actually paid for some reimbursements for them, but then we got the benefit that we actually got in lieu credits from City of Phoenix. So between those 4 reimbursements that we did, we got $508,889 that city gave us as credits back towards our infrastructure obligation. So now we all have to pay the difference to City of Phoenix. So we're trying to get it done this fiscal year because the money's in our budget. I believe we have till next year to make the payment, but it's in our infrastructure. It's in the CIP. So we're asking to get the payment just done right now. So that's why we're asking for it should be not for an amount of $91,111. And again, this is going back to the 2018 intergovernmental agreement that we have with the City of Phoenix, and this will meet that obligation and allow Phoenix to move forward. I've tried to reach out to Phoenix with their infrastructure because they actually do have projects. They're doing a booster pump station upgrade and actually also doing a 16-inch pipeline in Cave Creek Road. So I think they're a little behind on their schedule. So I may be coming back in the next few months with council to extend the time frame on that agreement to, they've talked to me about, they've approached me about doing that, but this is our infrastructure obligation as identified in that. This allows us to cut the check and do it with this year's budget. With that, I can answer any questions.
I just have one that occurred. It's a kind of a time between Whiffle loan and this. There's provisions in the Whiffle loan to spend the money and not arbitrage it. Our bond counsel has left, but is there anything that Phoenix can do if they delay their project? Would that trigger any of those covenants in that Whiffle loan if they delay us?
I don't think so, because in reality, they were on task per their development agreement or per the IGA, they were supposed to be completed the beginning of the next calendar year. Because of our schedule, I've talked to the construction manager with deliveries of equipment, we'll be under construction all through next calendar year. So they've got some time to finish that off. It's really more the amendment to the IGA that they're talking about. And that's something that both councils will agree to, I believe, to extend that out and give them the time to complete the work. The designs have been done, and I understand they've actually got their own contractors on board. So I'm not sure what the delay is. I believe they're trying to get through some cultural resource stuff on the booster station site, which is next to their police station just south of town. But yeah, I don't think that'll be an impact or impact anything. And I do expect in the next few months to come back to council with the amendment to the IGA for the time, to give Phoenix the time to complete their project and then match what we'll actually have. We won't be able to accept the water until our infrastructure is done, and that's going to be through the next calendar year at this point.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Other
good time.
questions from council? Anything else? We are ready for public comment then.
No public comment.
No public comment. All right, ready for a motion then.
I can do it.
McGuire?
This is a motion to approve an expenditure to the city of Phoenix for reimbursement costs per the 2019 intergovernmental agreement for water service. Excuse me, infrastructure required for Phoenix to provide water service south of Carefree Highway for an amount of up to $91,111.
Second.
Sean, this is shows a cooperative effort between Cave Creek and Phoenix, and I think staff is to be commended. It hasn't always been easy. And I think that I know that staff has really worked hard to communicate with Phoenix and to find mutual benefit. And it's greatly appreciated. It's a real benefit to the town.
It's good having them service our businesses down there.
For comments? Yeah, this is, I mean, it's kind of a big package here with they're providing the treatment service, not the water, but just the treatment services in case our equipment breaks, and they could have gone after us for all those years that we served in their territory and they didn't. So this is part of a big package that makes a lot of sense for the town. With that, we are ready for a roll call. Oh, no public comment, excuse me. Yeah, go ahead.
Councilmember Bunch.
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Alcama,
Yes.
Councilmember McGuire,
No.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Royer,
Yes.
Councilmember Augerton,
Aye.
Mayor Morris.
Aye. We okay? Next on the agenda, and the final thing tonight, is a council discussion regarding proposed town code changes associated with water shortage and drought management plans presented by the utilities director. And he's not asking for any money. Yes.
I'm still here though. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm going to have Michelle Van Quethen actually join me because she actually, council may recall, she drafted helped us draft the water shortage drought management plan, has actually worked with Mr. Sims to actually draft the code amendments that we're going to present to you tonight. So I'm going to start by a quick summary of what happened and what got us to this point, and then we can go into the details and answer any questions or take any questions on that. So largely because the town does rely so much on Central Arizona Project and Colorado River supplies. That's why we did something last year unique in developing the water shortage and drought management plan, because we really want to key in on that factor. Unlike a lot of municipalities who have a more diverse water portfolio and other supplies, a shortage on the Colorado River becomes something that can really impact the town. And as council's probably very much aware that, 2 years ago, they actually, the first tier shortages occurred. It has not impacted us directly, but we have to be proactive and think forward that something could impact the town's ability to provide water to our customers, and how can we address that? And that's what the intent of the drought management plan. Right now, I've mentioned it, that again, right, we do not have any functional wells. We are looking to see if we can bring any of the wells in Cave Creek back online. In Desert Hills, we have 3 wells, but their flows vary considerably. And they can make for usually half to almost probably more typically a third of the water supplies out in Desert Hills. So between the customers that we have in Cave Creek and most of the customers out in Desert Hills, and most of the supply needs we need to provide to Desert Hills customers, it's actually coming from our Colorado River water supplies. In 2021, the town actually adopted a new water resource policy. So that's another neat thing that we've done, which actually helped us address long-term water resources. That's a policy that looked on placing volumetric limits on new water connections. And it also allowed us to have the conversation and put the standard out there saying we're not going to allow new connections outside our municipal limits unless there was a contractual obligation, and things like a will serve are not a contractual obligation. And we actually do have some water service agreements that are still in place. There are still 2 certificates of assured water supply in Desert Hills that we'd have to honor if the properties moved forward with developments. But that, I think, has greatly limited the number of connections we've seen since the policy's gone in place in our Desert Hill system. So that system's demand has not grown significantly. If anything, it's stayed stagnant since the policy went in place, which is what the intent of it was. In the last couple of years, the town's also been looking at our water storage and water recharge options. Water storage is what I mean is we now have in place the contracts to allow us to store excess Colorado River water, which we have not done prior to this point, and probably should have, but we've been able to put water into the ground on our behalf and generate long-term storage credits. And we're also looking at water recharge options for the town. We do have an imbalance. I mention this to council every time I bring up the quarterly reports. Is our imbalance in our deliveries to the Rancho Minana Golf Course, that there's times when we produce more backwash water from our treatment plant and more so the effluent from the wastewater treatment plant than they can use. So if we had a recharge option, that's something that we could do to help balance our water portfolio. And we're actually looking at a study right now, independent of the master plan, and it's going to be rolled into the master plan. Is something that we can do, and it's something that we'll look to see if we can maybe get some grant funding to help us build also. So the real main thing that's changed is that the drought on the Colorado River has worsened. That drove us into last year developing the water shortage and drought management plan. We're now at the year 24 of the shortage. This has been a historically wet winter, which helped bide off the drawdown in the 2 lakes, Lake Mead and Lake Powell. But really, it's what's happened in the past 24 years has really made people rethink of the water allocation on the Colorado River. And for the town being so dependent on Colorado River water, it's made us have to rethink what we're doing forward. So we have the 2021 water resource plan again, and then we've actually had some physical infrastructure changes. We have had the disconnect of the majority of the 550 Carefree customers. I think it's 520 have been disconnected from our system, and we lost some of our town's water resources per the IGA that was in place with Carefree that has now been shifted. We're just waiting for the Department Bureau of Reclamation to do the final signatures, and that'll be in place. And we do have the upcoming connection to the city of Phoenix. That's a big change. So last year, in August and November, we actually had a total of 3 meetings. The staff discussed this plan. So we brought some different ideas forward, and actually I went through several iterations. I forgot until I looked preparing for this presentation how much we went through and how much discussion there was on that and how we changed it. So we really try to come up with a calculation that's more specific to what will work for Cave Creek. Unlike unlike tying it to, say, the tiered shortages on that if Central Arizona Project has a tiered shortage that we follow along with it, like a lot of other plans, we came up with a calculation that we can do based on our supplies available to us and our ability to meet the demands, projected demands on the for our customer base. And it also allowed council to consider other things like recharge goals. Right now we are trying to recharge all the excess water we do have. One of the things that the town's been approached for the last 2 years, and we about not ordering all our CP water, that would actually give us a little financial bump. But I think it's better for us to recharge that water and generate the long-term storage credits for the foreseeable future as much as we can. We did outline 5 levels of water storage stages. Again, it goes back to the calculation, but we're always in a stage 0, which is really trying to promote conservation, try to educate our customers to use less water. The report is adopted also lists measures to reduce demands to match water supplies based on the calculations. Again, we're looking forward. So we do a calculation. We'll look forward to next year based on the growth that we're seeing in the water demands and supplies available to us. Because every year we get told if there's going to be a shortage on the Colorado River. It's not something they just tell us, say, hey, tomorrow you're not going to get your water. We actually order our water a year in advance. We order at the end of the calendar year. By October, we're placing our orders. So this gives us an opportunity to balance that out. So just before that, we can look at our demands. And if our supplies are going to be reduced to the point that that's going to impact us, it gives us a few months to actually start implementing some procedures. So the plan was adopted in November 21st council meeting by resolution. So what we're doing now is actually looking to actually do code changes, which would allow us to have more enforcement and council some enforcement ability to actually move forward with what we're planning to do. Initially, depending on the shortage, we would be again doing a lot of outreach, a lot of education with our customers, but it could get, and we have to have the serious conversation. If it gets bad enough that we actually have to go and tell customers you can't have water, we have to actually have the code provisions in place to allow that to occur. And we have to do that, those revisions prior to that event happening. So that's what we're proposing right now with the code revisions that's in front of you, is to allow council and staff to make those decisions and have those hard discussions earlier and to put the pieces in place for us. So we've outlined changes in 5 sections of town code, and we can go through those. And the next steps will be after taking some feedback from council as we draft the ordinances necessary and start the hearing process. I believe there's 2 public hearings required to get any town code revisions because it's actually changing town code. So that would be our next steps if council agrees with where we're at, or we'll make the necessary changes and bring that either back or just prevent or propose those in our before we come back for the hearings. So with that, I'm not sure how council would like to proceed. As part of your package, you should have the proposed revisions that we had, which are showing the changes. If you have it in color, the red is the additions to the text, and then the blue are some minor modifications or strikeouts. I think the red might be my edits, and the blue are Bill and Michelle's edits. So I think about it. Or so I think it's a combination. So don't look at the color coding, just look at the adds or the strikes. So I'm not sure if council would like us just to do a quick summary of the major changes.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Okay. So the first section is 52013, waste of water, failure of customer to make repairs to pipes, valves, and fixtures. So we're just trying to add a little more responsibility to the customer and make sure it's clear that they are paying for that. If something does happen to the system, it puts the onus on the customer. Sometimes we get people who come back and argue on that case. It looks like more text revisions in that section itself. 52406, rate and charges for water service in the combined Cave Creek and Desert Hill service area establishments. Again, we've added a little text there about conserving water. We want to reinforce that. Something unique is we do want to talk about the ability to add surcharges in case it does get to the point that we, without having to go back through a rate study, that we believe the text as proposed allows staff with council's direction to actually impose new tariffs in effect or surcharges to high water customers. So right now we do have the 5 tiers of water usage. Everybody pays a base fee regardless of the monthly use that they consume. And then above that, we actually try to promote conservation by having 5 tiers of water usage and the tiers get more expensive. So we're looking to see, this would allow us a little more flexibility to, without going through a full rate study, to make amendments to that
Oh,
tier
really?
structure.
You can bypass the rate amendment process with this?
Yeah, that this would be a surcharge that you're putting into ordinance now. So you're going through the public hearing process about the potential for the surcharge. So you're giving public notice now, and I defer to Bill on,
Not a rating surcharge. About the keyword.
Oh.
Right.
Tricky lawyer words. But, and the amount could depend upon the severity. So it's not, I didn't see it specified in here.
no, it would be something that the council would decide on depending on the circumstances. We left a lot of flexibility in the council actions and just set out a menu of things that the council could do, because if you only need to cut a little, you would want to make the remedy commensurate with that little cut.
Oh, good. That gives flexibility.
Right, and the surcharge has got really, it could have two purposes, which is really helpful. It could help pay for extra expenses incurred because of the surcharge, like more conservation activities. It also may help cover the bottom line because you'll be selling less water. So, that sort of would help to maintain the existing level of service. But it also is one of the most proven ways of encouraging conservation. It's just bottom line dollars.
For those who aren't aware, that the water company has about 85% fixed charges and 15% is the cost of the water and the chemicals and things. But we only put 50% into the fixed rate on the tariffs because we want to encourage conservation. So people who use more water pay more, up to like 5 times more than some at the lower rate. So that was a policy decision. The problem is if you start selling less water, you're not covering your expenses. And that's why the surcharge is going to be really important to be financially viable if something happens.
Mr. Mayor, just so the public doesn't think you can do that surcharge unilaterally. If you go,
That impression.
you go to 52406 Delta, you're gonna have Sean will give you a recommendation, then you'll have a hearing. So there will be public input. It won't be something you can just do.
Okay.
A quick note, what we'll probably do is also just moving back up into the top of that page under section A, fire protection services in Cave Creek service area. We're striking note 1 about the standby charges, and then note 2 doesn't seem to fit this section anymore because it's not about rates, and that's there's a standard note in town code saying that the town does not guarantee fire protection. We're actually looking to move that, so that'll be another revision when we actually come back. We're just going to move that into a section because it's something I always forget that's in the text because of where it's placed, because it's under rates. It's at the top of the second page there, section A, number 2, service, fire protection service in Cave Creek service area, A2 service. So we'll just move that in code.
John, while we're on that subject though, what is the status of our fire hydrants in town? Are they all in good condition?
Yes,
Working condition?
Yeah, we did the annual service in December, January. Our contractor came out and yeah, we're just working through. There's some deficiencies, but no major. The only hydrants that are out of service are the ones that we know are out of service. There's some hydrants up in Continental Mountain Ranch that were built into development. They're marked out of service because we can't provide fire protection up there, and then up along Cahava Springs. But everywhere else, everything's in service. We still have some deficiencies to work our way through, but everything is functionally working.
Okay, thank you.
So. The biggest revisions you'll see on the third page is in section 52.501 about drought management. It used to be drought management response procedures. We're just going to shorten that to drought management. And you see, this is where we've added in the different stages and the declared the water shortage declaration. So that's something that we would staff come to council and once a year at least. And we anticipate to be sort of in the fall when we're making the water order and we know what's happening with the water availability for the following year would come forward to council. And this would allow us to have that discussion about, do we see a imbalance between our supply and supplies and what we think will happen next year with the deliveries. So again, some of it's a guesstimate of the growth that we see in the system that'll happen, but a lot of most of it's going to be on the supply side. If the supplies go down, similar to like with the Colorado River water, the town was able to secure some a subcontract for non-DNE agricultural water, the NIA water. But the first year we got it, we already had a reduction on it. And I think next year we're anticipating to potentially get maybe 50% if we're lucky. We haven't heard the final number. And then we anticipate in the next couple upcoming years that 386 acre feet we won't be able to order any of it because it's less secure water. And that's part of the discussion we look at. We look at our available water of our municipal and industrial water supplies and all our other supplies. And if we can get into things like long-term storage credits, we can bring that back into the equation to see how we get access to those credits and how we feed that in. But that's something that's, I look at it as a long-term checking savings account for the town. I don't want to just use them every year and burn them up the first year. So that's a conversation that we'll bring forward to council. But this is the meats of the section here is 52501. With that, I'm not sure if you want to add more to the details there, Michelle.
I didn't have anything to add.
You see, we go through different stages, including going back and section 4 there, voluntary remedial measure, stage 2, water shortage drought master plan, talking about, trying to limit people outdoor water use. About 88% of the town's customer base is residential, or water customer base is residential. And most of that is actually, especially our summer peaks, is coming from outdoor water usage. So that's something we have to be cautious of, trying to get people to use less water. We have to manage that with, things like we don't want everybody to not do any watering. And then also we get a situation where we're creating a fuel load around buildings, but we have to manage that and help educate people on things like outdoor water usage, smart water meters, looking at your irrigation systems. They do fail and you get a large water bill, so getting people to be proactive with that. But we might come to the point, and everybody in the valley might come to the point where I say, sorry, you can't water outdoors. So hopefully we don't get to that level, but we have to anticipate that might be the case at some point in the future. And the next page reflects that again a little bit more, all the way down to the stage 4, which is the most extreme. That's when we really see a real imbalance between our ability to order water and supply water to our customers. So that's getting fairly significant. 52999, the penalties and administrative sections. We talked about making it not just punitive, but actually come together and talk about a violation. The old section was, you can see, it was just talking about it ties you back into, it makes it a class 1 misdemeanor, and it brought you back to section 10.99 in town code, which I think is classified as a misdemeanor. Then they're being charged, I think it's $100 per day for the term of the fines. We want to add a little section there to allow for some more administrative sanction put in place rather than just go to that punitive section right away.
Mr. Mayor, that continues the theme. Many cities and towns really give you the alternative of throwing your constituents in jail. And that really doesn't get the fees paid. And so that's why we've added the whole section of tripling and doubling and tripling, trying to encourage positive conduct.
Great.
Yeah, and again, and to add to that, it does put a burden on staff at that point, because then then we have to figure this all process out. But I'm assuming if we're getting into that much of a supply demand service, we're going to have some conversations and have to set people aside to be working on this full time.
And how far out are the new meters and the ability to see what people are people to see both what they're doing and for us to see where the high users are if we had emergencies?
Well, we actually just met with the vendor last week and did a site survey as far as where we can put what they call the collector sites. And then we actually have to go back to the meter. So we've got 2 collectors on order. They're doing a survey to verify. We're actually looking at both systems because we want to be proactive and look at Desert Hills. The water conservation grant that we have and what's in the capital program is actually for Cave Creek. But we're going to look to see if we can set some of them out in Desert Hills too, to actually be proactive out in Desert Hills too. I would say this next calendar year, because what I'm hearing from all the vendors right now is a lot of municipalities are in the same boat as we are, trying to do conversion from an AMI drive-by radio system to an AMI infrastructure system. So we're already hearing that it's going to be hard to get people to help us do it. The contractors are already getting booked out and we're trying to get them booked up and help us out. So I anticipate this next calendar year, we should get most of it done, I think, in the first 6 months, but 6 to 9 months of this next fiscal year for us is where we'll get the biggest, I think, conversion to the AMI system. To anticipate. It won't be completed. I think it'll take a little bit longer. We'll have to map that out once we set the collectors, because ours is going to be a hybrid system in that we're going to be having some collectors that will be hearing the antennae from the radios, but we actually, in a lot of cases, I think they anticipate about 20%. We have to go to a cellular enabled. The cellular enabled are a little behind schedule, so that might be in the spring, if not into next year, that we get those installed. So, but our goal is to try and work.
As well with what we know, because we're not going to get a shortage next year.
Not anymore than right now. Right now, we're not using all of our water allocation. We're actually still in the case where we can recharge. We are actually putting water in long-term storage credits. So we are still not in a true imbalance. And I don't think per the plan, we just promote our water conservation, and which is, I think the metering is going to be one of the biggest things to inform people of their usage and inform them more quickly if there's a problem with their internal plumbing or their outdoor plumbing.
But it sounds like that timing matches up with the timing when we're going to have the meter, the ability to tell people what they're using and to identify high users is going to about match when the next possibility of a water shortage comes at us, which is a year from October.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, I say yes, yes. Yeah. One of the revision we put into this code as we did it, it looks like it's odd, but it's section 151-15. It's in Public Works Code section. There was a reference when we were looking at stuff, there was a reference to the Maricopa Association of Governments 1979 edition of the construction standards. We're just going to change that to the most current. So that's more of a cleanup. So I know there's a lot to take in, but if council has any direction for us, we'd like to keep moving forward. This has been about 6 months since the adoption, and I apologize. It's the onus is really on me and moving this forward. But we'd like to wrap this up and at least get the town code revisions moving forward, which would mean us coming back with an ordinance and then the 2 public hearings so we can do the town code changes.
The one question I had about this was, this is for a drought plan that's a chronic situation. You can see it coming. You can make calculations on the year. It's not for a critical shortage where equipment breaks tonight and we don't have water.
Correct. We do that. That's our emergency planning exercise, and that's really us getting the City of Phoenix interconnect built and or other improvements that we can make to the system to make it more reliable. With APS here tonight, one thing we've talked about is there's only a handful of water sites that actually have backup generators. So as part of the master plan, we're looking at to see, should we buy a portable generator and what size would be useful at multiple sites and making sure that we've got the infrastructure in place. So yeah, that's a separate issue is our sort of our emergency operations. This is the drought management. This is forecasting.
That's beyond the scope of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Questions from council? There's public comment.
No public comment.
Okay, that completes. That was a discussion only item, so that completes our agenda for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I guess there's no second.
Second.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Wasn't David Phelps here tonight?
See you, David.